everybody, and welcome to Macro Talk 2. It is Thursday, October the 2nd, 2025. And today we are going to go over the competition results from September. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And it was a great competition. The topic was action. And I was pretty specific about what that meant. And most of the submissions followed that. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. If you can hear my printer in the background, it's in the middle of a 2-day print. Seriously, I've been listening to it for half a day already. It's got another day and a half to go. I apologize for that. Saturday, after stack, 10 o'clock in the morning till 11:30. Bud Parrott's going to be leading the discussion. We're going to be talking about Capture One, a program that a lot of people are using as an Adobe alternative. And we're going to be answering questions and looking at some of the features that the program has. So if you're a user of that program, you definitely need to join us on Saturday. It's absolutely free. The invitation is in my blog over on my website, www.alanwallsphotography.com/blog/product. Okay. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Next Friday, don't forget this, 2 p.m., Crystal Art number 2. We just started this, and it's a lot of fun. Harold Hall and I do this program once a month on the second Friday. And this week, we're going to be looking at crystals and talking about them and just having fun. I have some crystals I'm going to be showing. I'll show them now, actually. See those crystals on the screen there? They were not actually part of the crystals I put on the slide. They jumped up onto the polarizer from the slide. I don't know how that happened. I've never seen it before, but that's one of the things we're going to be looking at next week. It'll be fun, exciting, different. And the theme for this month's competition, while we're talking about competitions, is product. Now, this is one that I've wanted to do for a long time. I have never done it. I'm pretty sure we haven't done it. The idea is you're going to pick something, anything. It can be a padlock, for example, and that will be your product. One of your 2 products if you've never won the competition. If you haven't won it in the last year, you get to submit 2. And your job will be to take a photograph to submit that would be what the advertising people would call a hero shot. It's not a pack shot. It's not a magazine or a catalog listing. It's the one that would be on the poster. It would be their big photograph, their main photograph. So it's a difficult thing to do. I absolutely love product photography. I think it challenges every single part of your photography. And the reasons are pretty clear. I mean, the person that's paying you wants you to make their padlock look like the best padlock in the world. But the people that you're presenting the photographs to, the rest of us, the world, want you to be honest and show exactly what the padlock is. Everything. So it's difficult to do well. And I love it. It's a real challenge, and I'm very much looking forward to doing this competition. And I have a guest judge, or I will have a guest judge when he or she says yes, they will do it, and then I'll announce it. But I think it'll be something you'll be excited about. So I'm waiting on that. So that's what you've got to do this month in October. You've got 4 weeks to do it. Think of a product and make the best picture you possibly can. And I can't wait to see them. Okay. Talking about guest judges, I want to thank my 2 guest judges for this month's competition. I was assisted in evaluating all of these photographs by none other than Dr. Susan Seaford, who is in our illustrious group this evening. And thank you so much, Susan, for your time and your expertise. We went through the photographs. She helped me decide on the order. And then later in the day, I had the opportunity to go back through the photographs with none other than Rick Littlefield, the father of focus stacking. And he was able to give me some comments and pointers and disagreements. And we decided on a final order. And that's what you're going to be seeing today. So, excellent. I think that's everything. If you haven't seen it yet, the Lester Lefkowitz Lightroom video, say that 3 times fast, was released earlier this week. It's over on my channel on YouTube, and you can watch it. It's for you, and it's well worth watching. If you've ever lost a photograph in Lightroom because you didn't know what you were doing, watch this video. You still won't know what you're doing, but it's a fun video to watch. Okay, great. I think that's everything. Shall we get on with it? The theme was action, and I wanted to make a distinction between action as in just movement and more deliberate action. I wanted to see photographs that told a story about something that was happening with the subjects. They didn't have to be insects; they could be inanimate objects for all I knew. But they had to be showing some agency or purpose. The action had to be something that we could see and understand. For example, an insect eating another insect would be an action. Whereas something just walking across the road, well, I guess that could be an action too. Don't worry about it, you'll understand. There were 25 entries after 3 entries were disqualified. Now, all 3 of the disqualified entries used a different naming convention, a made-up one that involved numbers with no names or title. So I was unable to know who took the pictures, but fortunately, it made my job easier. None of the pictures had anything to do with action or macro, for that matter. So there was that. Made me feel better. But as of next month, if you don't use the correct naming convention, I can't accept the photograph. That's it. Won't mention it again. So there were 3 of those, leaving us with 25 images. There were 10 finalists, 1 winner, a second, a third, and places through 10th. Then we had, I think it is 7 honorable mentions and 8 nearly honorable mentions. That's what we'll call them, nearly honorable mentions. And that's all 25. And I'm going to go through every one of the images because I think there's something for us to learn from every one of them. And I'll have to be quick, but yeah, that works. That works well. And let me see, was there anything else I wanted to do? Nope, just wanted to thank Rick and Susan, and we will get on with it. Now, remember, the honorable mentions and the nearly honorable mentions are not in any specific order. They're in the order that we looked at the photographs, period. So if you're an honorable mention and you're not mentioned first, that doesn't mean anything. The numbers, however, do. When we get up to number 10 through number 1, they mean a lot. So we will begin. I'm going to have to, I'm doing this a different way. I do hope it works. It's a new idea I had. Let's see. Apparently it is going to work, which is good. Fantastic. So here we are with the first nearly honorable mention. And hang on, I have to pull up one other thing. There it is. And this is from Amy Furman. The Weevil Gets Away. Now, very, very interesting concept. Very nice idea and nice framing of the subject. What it is a weevil escaping from some evil creature up here. You can't actually see it; it's out of focus, but it's a crab spider, I believe. And the weevil is escaping, and I believe what we have is a series of 3 superimposed shots as the weevil takes flight. I absolutely loved the idea. Of course, I'm always going to love any photograph that has a weevil in it. That's my thing. There were a few things about it that stood out. The color and the light, I think, were very well suited to the subject. There's unquestionably it was consistent with the theme, and it showed lots of action. Problems would include the fact that we don't really get a good look at the subject. The lighting was a bit off with similarly a focal issue with what was in focus and what wasn't, and most of the subject was not. So if it hadn't been for Amy telling us that this was a weevil that was escaping, it probably could have been any kind of beetle as far as I could see. So it was close to being a really good idea. Well, it was a really good idea, but it was close to being a great entry, but for those minor issues with the actual technique. But certainly well worth a mention. Now, next up, we have outgoing from Julie Bots. I seem to have lost my page again. Here we are. Yep, outgoing. Sorry, outgoing. It looks like a Gulf fritillary, maybe. I don't really know my butterflies that well. It is a lovely study. I like the choice of colors, the orange, reddish colors on the blue background of the sky with presumably some clouds or out of focus tree elements in the background is certainly nice. I do like the plant material that the butterfly's on. The problems are, and then the reason that it didn't get any higher than it did in the competition this time was that almost all of the interesting parts of the butterfly weren't visible. And it's an interesting take, no doubt about it, from underneath. I like that kind of shift in perspective, but it didn't give us enough information to really appreciate the grandeur of the butterfly. So certainly a worthy photograph and well thought out and nicely shot, but just not quite there this time. Next up, we have from Mike Frederick. It's called a 1 centimeter high, some kind of mushroom. Now, there is a good chance that that this photograph didn't actually belong in this competition, as I think there's a possibility I saw this in the microhabitats competition. So we're going to assume that was the error. I put it in because for the life of me, I couldn't find it when I looked at the video from the previous competition. That doesn't mean it wasn't in there somewhere. A gorgeous photograph. It is probably the absolute opposite of action, mind you, unless you're on a very slow time scale. So we'll move on from there to the next almost honorable mention. And this is, once again, this is from Amy Furman with this is, I think, right before the last photograph. Here we see a gorgeous crab spider getting ready to grab, presumably to eat, a hapless weevil. Now, this is a much better composition, in my opinion, as far as where the focal planes are and the lighting. It's a good look at the spider. A closer examination does also reveal that most of the interesting parts of the crab spider are out of focus here, or slightly softened, and the weevil likewise has a patchy focus. The light in the background work. I mean, they are not distracting. They're nice and smooth. It's a well executed shot as far as being free from blur. And the story it's telling is superb. This is clearly an action shot. But as you'll see from subsequent photographs, it was hard to put it any higher up the rankings, given the quality of the images we're getting ready to look at. But close, very, very close indeed, and a nice thing to capture at this time of year. Not going to be many more days or weeks that we're going to be able to get out and see stuff like this. So great job, Amy. I do appreciate it. Next up, in our last almost honorable mention, is a photograph from Tom Bigalski. This is Liftoff. And normally, this is the kind of photograph that I absolutely love to see. You see these things all the time. If you're doing macro photography out in the field, you will see a never-ending parade of grasshoppers taking off and disappearing across the glade. The problem is they do it so very fast that they're oftentimes impossible to photograph. In fact, I seldom ever get to see photographs of grasshoppers that have taken to their wings to escape in such clarity. What bothered me about the photograph was the very subdued palette and the way the subject and the background kind of melt into one another a little bit. It made it, while an enviable capture, certainly, and clearly a very good example of an action scene, I think it lost a little bit in terms of color and lighting. Not much you can do when you're snapping a picture of something that's happening this fast. I understand that. But it was almost a great picture. But for this particular time, we have to settle for just a very good one. But still, congratulations, nice picture. Next up, we have. Oh, this must be a mistake. It is a mistake. That's good. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong list. This is from Diane Vacher. This is Wait Up, I Can, and then something else, but I've cut off the that part of the page. Let me see if I can stretch it out. There we go. Wait Up, I Can Explain. I believe these are lanternflies. I'm not absolutely certain. They look like lanternflies to me. And one of them is flying in one direction, the other in the other. Presumably they've had some kind of a disagreement, and one of them is trying to explain. This is a composite. And one of the ways that you can tell it's a composite is if you look between the rear extremities of the larger of the two lantern flies, you'll see a patch of the original background that the insect was on before it was moved into either this image or this location of the image. That is a bit of a buzzkill on a photograph like this. I have absolutely no trouble with you using compositing. You're allowed to. And Diane very appropriately stated that this was a composite photograph. So I'm not saying there was anything untoward about it. It's just that when you're doing a composite, it is super important to hide as much of the evidence of the cutting and pasting as possible. I would strongly recommend if you're doing this yourself in your photographs, would be to check out the new tool in Photoshop if you're using Photoshop. I can't remember what it's called though. It's a blending tool that blends composited images and matches the light and lighting direction and background remnants and that type of thing. Kind of gets rid of them. Harmonize is the name of the tool. So I'm not sure that would have taken care of this, but it would have made it, I think, look a little bit more natural. Either way, it was an interesting and fun photograph. It was certainly it held the attention of both Rick and Susan and myself. Susan particularly liked the depiction of the insects. They're not the prettiest insects in my opinion, but Diane made them look really cool here. So a good honorable mention. And on to the next. This is... No, it's not. This is from Tom Bigulski also. This is Twilight Flight, the next of our honorable mentions. This is a lovely photograph of a moth in flight, and I believe that this is actually a moth in flight. Not like a lot of my photographs, something that I pose to look as if it's in flight. This looks like it's actually flying. It is an enviable capture to get the whole head, antennae, and forelimbs in good focus the way Tom has done. And he's very good at this kind of thing. The wings are slightly out of focus, as you would expect. You'd also expect them to have some motion blur going on as well, because this, after all, is a flying moth, and they flap their wings to fly. There are a couple of things about it that I think might have made it a more a more active contender. Possibly the composition is a little bland with the insect right in the middle of the field like this and nothing else going on. I get it. I like the way it isolates the subject, but I wonder if it maybe took something away from the narrative. The other thing I hate to say is something you can't really do anything about unless you happen to have a flash on your camera at the time, is that the head, the most interesting part, what I'm looking at, looking for, the mouth parts and the eyes and the antennae are pretty much invisible, given the light background and the dark front of the insect. It's very, very close to being a really excellent photograph. But I think just losing that the details in the shadows of the face just took away a little bit for me, and it made the background a little more prominent than it needed to be. So a great photograph almost did much better, but nonetheless, good shot, Tom. And it's good to see that there are still some insects out and about in our neck of the woods. I believe Tom lives just up the road from me, so that's good because I haven't been out with a camera, though I am doing so this afternoon. That is my plan. Next up, we have another one from Julie Botts. This is no, it's not. It's it's from Gillian Davis. I'm sorry. The list I'm going from has a cursor that keeps moving when I punch the button to move the photograph. So I'm one behind. This is Gillian Davis, not the thing in the picture. That's a what do you call it? A hummingbird moth. But the person who took it was Gillian Davis, and it's called Refueling on the Wing. And this is a lovely photograph. It has, it's always exciting to see a photograph of one of these amazing and beautiful insects at work. They really do look as much like hummingbirds as hummingbirds do. They make the same sound, and they fly in much the same way, partially upright, and they'll hover in front of a blossom and lick out the nectar. In this case, I thought the treatment of the wings was masterful. I think that's exactly what you want to do. But a close inspection of the rest of the body that reveals a lot of softness in the image. Now, I don't know if this was a result of having too slow an aperture, or if possibly there's a bit of motion artifact in here. But either way, the end result was slightly less sharpness than I would have liked, and it took away just a little bit from the picture. If you're not seeing what I'm talking about, I recommend you go look at the picture on my website, where you can open it up to full size and look closely, and you'll see that there's a lot of softening around the edges of the image. But really, a very good picture and a very good capture. I'll be honest, I've been chasing after these things since the first time I saw one, and I have never actually shot a hummingbird moth in flight, and I've certainly never seen one this pretty. But that's probably due to the fact that Gillian's in another country down South Africa, I believe, where I'm sure they have lots of gorgeous insect stuff to photograph. So congratulations, Gillian. Honorable mention, well earned. Now it's time for incoming from Julie Botts. And this is a lovely photograph of a honeybee digging around inside some kind of a plant. I'm afraid I don't know what kind of plant it is. The fact that it's a plant means I don't know what kind of plant it is. It's a good photograph, and it certainly shows action going on. It shows a bee busy at work in an interesting flower. The problem for me is that the subject is almost lost in the secondary foreground, I guess you'd call it, of the flower. In addition to parts of the insect being covered by the bright and assertive blossoms in the foreground, it just seems to relegate the bee to an unwanted visitor to the photograph. That's not fair, not unwanted, a kind of a photo bombing bee to a photograph of the interesting flower. If that makes any sense at all. I think it's important when we photograph insects, especially when we're trying to portray them doing something, that we try to isolate them from their surroundings just a little bit so that we can be left in no doubt that the photograph that we're looking at is a photograph of a bee, not a photograph of a purple plant. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. This is a nice picture. The exposure is excellent. The framing is excellent, and I like the composition. I just wish there was a little less bright and interesting activity in front of the subject itself. Nevertheless, good photograph, well shot, and a well earned honourable mention. Up next is a photograph that is very, in many respects, very similar to this, and the criticism is similar. It's a beautiful shot of a couple of honeybees on a cherry blossom or an apple blossom or some kind of blossom, a tree anyway. One of them is buzzing off, presumably to another flower, while the first one, the star of our shot, is still feeding on the first blossom. Now, Susan had a couple of good points about this, and I had to agree with all of them. It's a lovely photograph. You particularly like the blend of colors. The light blue and the greens of the foreground were fantastic. We both thought that there was a lot of activity in the background. A lot of attention was drawn to that unopened blossom on the right bottom part of the screen. That was distracting, especially sitting right next to such a bright green leaf. A couple of things that bothered me about it, though only slightly. While the bee is very sharp and very beautifully photographed, we have its head covered. You know, it's doing something. It's doing an action, which we can probably guess from the position of the body has something to do with its mouth. It's probably feeding. It's probably digging nectar out of that flower, but we can't see it. And I think that that is slightly problematic here. You could argue that the main action is the other bee flying off, but that's hard to be completely comfortable with, seeing as it's in the more of the background. But this just is one of those images that had tremendous amount of potential. You found the best time, the best light, and the best everything to shoot it. Just it feels like it's 1/2 second off. I'm waiting for that other bee to pull his head back and take off backwards or whatever he's going to do. It feels like we're just missing the moment of this photograph by just a little bit. Nevertheless, well earned honourable mention, and good for you, Mike. I like that. I like that. Next up, from Sean Matson. This is it's Maston, I beg your pardon. Last day in school. Or is it first day in school? First day of school. This is one of those creepy photographs that depict millions of little tiny spiders hatching from their eggs in a tree that's probably about head height. I don't like to admit that these things exist like this, but they do. I'm not a big fan of spiders, to be honest. But anyway, it's a lovely photograph. The things I loved about it were the seclusion of the feeling that the hatchlings are all in a kind of private space in the tree. They're hidden from the outside world as they're emerging from their tangled web. There appear to be three, if I'm not mistaken, three adult spiders in the picture. one at the top by the stem, one on the right at the top, and then what I'm presuming to be the mother spider underneath the brood. Um, no, I'm not sure if that's actually accurate. It could be. It could be that there's only one adult spider in there, and the others are something else. But it's nice. I wish I could see a little more of the mother spider. It kind of they don't really tend to their young, but they do stay with them until they start to leave the nesting area. So seeing a little bit more of her would be good. Now, I just commented positively on how this feeling of the spiders being secluded in that little chamber made of leaves was a positive, and it is. It's also a negative because of the amount of light that's falling on the elements at the front of the scene. The upright leaves are distracting in a way that it draws attention away from the spiderlings. In fact, um, it kind of sets up a balance that is a little uneven to me. It lacks. It's hard to say. It lacks a certain feeling of stability that I think an image like this would uh, would would gain from. Maybe rotating the camera a little bit and moving a little closer in would have moved those green pillars more to the outsides of the photograph and given us a clearer view of the inside. That's easy for me to second guess. But that they're the main things that I reacted to, and also Susan and Rick. So yeah, it's a very close to being a good photograph, but that's what the honorable mention category is for. So we have, I think, a couple more in this grouping. Yeah, this is from Pierre Soro. Each droplet waits its turn, and then and a couple of other words. And let me see, released like a held back tear. Okay, a very poetic title, no doubt. Might be the longest title I've ever seen on one of these photographs. And I don't know if you can see my pointer. You probably can't, given that I'm sharing a slide show here. But the drops are lovely and they're clear. And if you get in close, you can see an upside down house, either a house or some type of a business building, but it's definitely a structure. And it's consistent with the white thing in front of at the front of the field that's a little out of focus. And it looks great. That's kind of the point. If you're photographing water drops that are hanging like this, the idea is that you're going to show us what is being reflected by them, and certainly Pierre does that. I'm a little put off by the fact that all of the other raindrops or water drops at least are out of our view. They're hidden inside the plant. You can't really see through them because you can't get up to them. And you can see that there are 5 or 6 or 7 other water drops. And I find it a bit frustrating that I can't see up close into them as well. Presumably, if this was a morning after rainfall, there'd be lots of other plants around that also had big water drops on them. And it made me think maybe a less busy stem on the left would have been more helpful to demonstrate the raindrops. I'm also a little bit unclear about what the action is, and that certainly can be a problem in such a specifically themed competition. And the last thing I would mention is I'm not sure that I'm crazy about the geometries in the picture. The white thing in the background, there's no way we can tell what it is from the image, but it looks oddly a kilter. Also, there is a tan-colored, light-colored leaf structure on the left of our plant, which is distracting also, because it's in line with some of those brightly lit leaves. And the last thing I'd say is I'm not sure that the vegetation on the right hand side of the screen does much to augment the photograph. It looks busy, but kind of in the way. So I think these are dangerous shots when you're doing a kind of abstract picture like this. You have to think very hard about where all the elements are going to line up and about the story you're trying to tell. This is a good photograph, and it almost made it into the top 10, but not quite. So, congratulations, Pierre. Now we have the top 10. And by definition, all of 10 of the following pictures did make it into the top 10, starting with Gillian Davis. Nope, beg your pardon, I've done it again. Starting with Mike Olson. Now Gillian knows where she got her second photograph placed. Sorry, Mike, well done. This is a photograph that had me chuckling out loud, and I hate to mess up the numbers here. This was, in fact, the last honorable mention in the series. I'm gonna have to do something about this highlighted picture here. But yeah, it's a very clever picture. I think that all three of the judges got it immediately. This idea that a fly just happened to land on a stucco wall right at the end of a groove in the stucco that for all the world looks like it was caused by the fly walking across and dragging its feet. I think it's clever. I think the fact that you noticed it and were able to get the photograph that quickly are all good things. And it was very close to making it into the places, were it not for the fact that the fly is very much lost in its own shadow, which is what you would expect to happen on a very bright day. It was amazing enough that you caught the photograph without expecting you to also be able to capture it with some diffusion in front of it, or a different angle to take out the some of the shadow from around the face. Anyway, it's a good photograph. I think it could have been a much greater photograph with a slightly different perspective and some diffusion, but you do what you can do in the moment. Either way, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Rick had a good laugh at this one as well, as we all did. So, good photograph. It certainly had the effect of drawing our attention and holding it. So clever, well done. I like it. And as I've already mentioned, next up is Gillian Davis with Buzz Off, It's My Airspace. Now, this is a very fine and very interesting photograph of some kind of a bee, the likes of which I have no idea what it is or how big it is. What I do know is it's coming straight for me, and its wings are blurred. So I know it's flying. It's not. This is not a composited image. This is not a dead insect that is being made to look as if it's flying. This is actually a living bee type beast that is flying right at my face, and I completely got immersed in this picture. I love it. There may be just a slight bit too much attention being drawn to the light part of the background on the right hand side. It's easy for me to say I wasn't editing the photograph, but I might have cropped this one in a little further, maybe cropped it into a tall photograph with the bee at the top. But yeah, they're all creative options that you have to make when you're doing the editing. But this one's lovely. The bee detail is really good. The colors are stupendous. I love the shutter speed you use to catch the wings in action without losing too much detail. And yeah, all in all, a good photograph. Very close to being one of my favorites. Okay, congratulations, Gillian. Next up, we have from Roy Walker, Back Off, I Saw It First. Now, this was not exactly controversial, but Susan and I talked about this for a good while, as did Rick and I later on in the evening. This is a very cleverly posed shot. of two dead tiger beetles having a chat over a dead fly that presumably one of them is going to rip into. The problem was, I think, let me speak first as somebody who loves this kind of photography and does this. This is what I do: is I pose dead insects to make them look alive, and I think you've done a wonderful job of that. There are a couple of things that are clearly post-mortem in these tiger beetles that is problematic to the sense of reality. The first is the very unnatural positioning of the left forefoot of the right tiger beetle. Um, you'll see the way the foot is curved back. That does not look anything like a living tiger beetle would be doing. Similarly, the eyes of both beetles look like they are pretty seriously discolored and pretty clearly post-mortem changes. Now, to balance that out, many congratulations on even being able to position these legs. These beetles are really hard to shoot unsupported like this, and you really have to get the legs relaxed and positioned and then set in place with either some polymer resin or with pins or with super glue. I don't know how this was done in this case, but I loved it. And your focus stacking technique is absolutely spot on. It's perfect. Everything of interest is in focus, and virtually nothing that is not of interest is in focus. I also loved the prey. It's a very pretty fly, and also depicted in sharp focus. So this is very close to being a knock it out of the park kind of shot, but certainly worthy of position number 9, back off. I saw it first from Roy Walker. Congratulations, Roy. So we are up to position number 8. This is a very unusual and clever photograph of a mantis, which is from, let me see, Suresh Achar. Suri would appear to be the short version of the name, and it's green mantises. I only see one mantis, unless those glowing balls are also manti. But yeah, this is a very interesting photograph. The idea to shoot it from below and from behind is quite unique. You don't see many photographs from the back of a praying mantis, but it does give you an unusually good look at the abdomen and also at the four limb claws, which you can see quite well here, the right one and the left. So it's a good photograph. Probably what hurt it the most was zooming in just a little bit. You start to see a lot of softness in the edges of the body, leading me to believe that this may well have been a single focal plane shot that was just shot slightly out of focus. I'm not sure. It's almost very successful, certainly very enjoyable, and a unique and interesting way to look at a mantis. I love the pose, and indeed, this is one I'm gonna look to try myself. So good job, and I hope I didn't get your name wrong, Suresh Achar. All right. Next up, from Chris Lee. Hey, Dad, how am I doing? Well, I'm not sure. I'm not going to I'm not going to say what I was going to say, Chris. Great photograph, very interesting. It's the same kind of issue that I think we run into whenever somebody does a composited shot. I'm pretty sure this was composited. It's very hard to photograph a single bee in flight. It's impossible to photograph two of them at the same time, I would guess. Both of the beetles give evidence that their wings are have been pulled out from under the elytra, and they're not actually flying. One is the fact that the wing is not completely unfurled on this side. It's not unfurled completely on this side either. But I think the dead giveaway is if these are June beetles or related to June beetles, I do believe that they fly with their elytra completely upright. I will demonstrate this for you. No, I better not. I better not turn the slideshow off. But their wings would normally be up front and faced forward, not falling back onto the actual flying wings like this. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, as I'm sure you will. It might be that I have the wrong species, but yeah, I would have expected these to have their wings up, and not seeing that made it definitely feel more of a composite. Let's talk about the things I love. I mean, the colors work really well together. The yellows in the background are also being picked up by the beetles, as is the lovely purple background. It's very subtle, but it's very effective. It's a striking photograph. It's very good. It's certainly worthy of being in the top 6 or top 7, I should say. Hey, Dad, how am I doing? Yep, you're doing great. Good job. Nice photograph. Uh, Talk about a clean bee. If you cleaned this, congratulations. You did a spectacular job. And if you want to know the secret for getting these wings to unfurl fully, get in touch with me and I'll tell you. It's one of my trade secrets. Okay. Next up is from Wilfmeyer, my web designer. Now, obviously, we didn't want to see Wilf's web designer, but this is what we got. And it is an absolutely cracking good photograph of an orb weaver spider that in the process of making a very intricate and beautiful web. This is a good photograph. It was difficult, I'm sure, to find. These things generally don't stay still when they're building their webs, but this looked really good. The spider is in the middle of trying to either separate or fix a a gossamer strand there, which is very interesting and fun to look at. And you can see the partially completed web. It just is. It's very nice. It's very effective. Your subject is sharp and in focus pretty much throughout until you get to the back leg. But certainly a good photograph, well executed, a lot of fun to look at, and yeah, congratulations, Wilf. Very good. Next up in position number 5 is a second entry from Sean Maston. Um, is it? Yes, it is. It is Sean Maston's. There's a couple of pictures that have a similar theme, and they're back to back. And I thought for a horrible minute I had them mixed up, but I don't. This is Sean Maston's "Do Not Disturb." Now, I love this picture. It is so clever, so well shot, and the position of the of the male fly, with both of his hands or feet or claws or whatever you would call them, right in the middle of the lady's head. I think it's just too well shot. It's humorous. It tells a great story. It is no doubt a depiction of these flies in action, and it's just something I normally don't spend that much time looking at. But you've done it really well. I actually like the dark background, catching your subjects in this splash of light. It's a funny and a fitting title for the image. It's a good photograph. I wish I had taken this. And from a technical standpoint, you got your flies beautifully in focus and well represented. It's a good image, and you deserve the 5th place for this. Bravo, well done. Which means there was a different image that was confusing me that was at number 4. And this is from our good friend George Simpkins. And it's another uh, in flagrante delecto type of image. And it is even better, if you could say that. This is a couple of beetles. Now, I tried to look up the species of them. I think we have them around here. But I'll be honest with you, I've photographed these things all summer long, and I don't have a single picture that's as good as this picture from George. This is a wonderful photograph that really captures the whole idea of copulating beetles. If you have ideas about copulating beetles that often, things I love about it are the beautifully subtle colors. Look at the head and the thorax of both of these beetles. They have a rich blue vein running in them, which is something that I seldom see, and I'm looking at these things in real life. Absolutely beautiful. The golden color of the top of the elytra, also lovely. The fact that they are on a leaf that is kind of bent over and pointed towards the ground gives gives this action photograph uh, a much more interesting and engaging concept, of the weight of the insects pushing the leaf down. And it's a leaf that's been partially eaten, possibly by one of their other children. I don't know. But something has chowed away at most of that leaf. So the fact that this also gives you the feeling of a fig leaf to what's going on, a partial covering up of the act that is in process. It's just clever. It's beautiful. It's funny, and normally I do not like crowded frames, and I say this a lot in this competition. I am put off by having a subject so crammed into the frame that there's no room for it to breathe. This is different. I feel like these insects are crammed into a little private space, and this works for the photograph. George, bravo, excellent photograph, well done. That was position number 4, and my goodness, for that to be positioned at number 4 meant that something magical must have been going on at 3, 2, and 1. Let's look at number 3. This is from our friend Rashad Al Sumati, whose photographs have been getting better and better and better by the month. This is an absolute masterpiece of action. Rick was less impressed with the action of it, but I saw this as pure action. This robber fly has just skewered some other kind of fly and is getting ready to. Well, that might be a bee. I think it has 4 wings. Yeah, it's a bee or a wasp that it's getting ready to eat. The way Rashad has caught this facing the camera with only that focal plane involving the antennae, the eyes, the mouth part, and his dinner is masterful. It's beautiful the way he has the rest of the insect visible but blending back into that stark green, exciting vibrance of the leaf. This is a really really nice photograph in my opinion. It's the kind of photograph that when I go out in the woods, I spend all of my time looking for this kind of moment. And yeah, you saw it and you caught it. I'd be most interested to hear whereabouts this photograph was captured, whether it was here or elsewhere in the world. But it's a beauty. Well done, Rashid. Fantastic. And which means we have 2 more to go. In position number 2, the silver medalist, surprise, surprise, is Roy Walker with Eyes on the Prize. This is a stunning photograph of an American hoverfly. I believe it's an American hoverfly coming in to land on that pink floret in the bottom left-hand corner. You've just got to blow this picture up on your computer screen and look at it to appreciate how well caught this was. You can see the hoverfly is flapping away like crazy to stay aloft from the blur in his right wing, but nothing else appears to be blurred. So it's a really good capture. It's a lovely study of the insect, and I just thought it worked on many levels. I love the blue in the background. What I did not love quite as much was the busyness and the lightness of the foreground on the left. It did subtract for me a little bit from my enjoyment of the picture. Of course, when you're shooting an exciting picture like this, you kind of have to go with what nature is giving you. And there's no doubt that that's what Roy has done. But it's a first class picture, thoroughly enjoyable, technically superb. And again, it is about as good a depiction of action as you can come up with one possible exception. And that would be if you were to have an insect that was in the process of completing a task for which it's named, and you managed to catch it doing that, like Graham Carey did. This is the winning photograph. Read it and weep. Beeline for Home is the name, and this is from Graham Carey, and it's an absolutely superb photograph that has really nothing that I could say to in any way detract from it being just about the perfect macro photograph. The framing with the habitat on the left. These, I think these may be artificial habitats they make for these solitary bees. They live inside the bamboo uh, shoots that have bamboo holes there. But you have a leaf cutter bee that has just cut a leaf and is coming back to the nest to line it with the leaf. The leaf is there in its mouth, but the bee is absolutely perfect. Look at the individual hairs on the abdomen, the individual lenses of the compound eye, the individual antennae are all sharp and in focus and perfectly complete. Only the wings show the vibration of flight, and this is such a beautiful capture of a bee coming in to their front door, basically making a beeline for home. The balance of light and dark in the background is just enough to make it an important second part of the photograph without taking away anything from the fascination of looking at this bee doing its thing. This is the kind of macro photograph that got me into doing macro photography in the first place. It was trying to emulate the great photographers who would take pictures like this. I can't take pictures like this. If I did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. I'd be out there doing it. That doesn't mean I haven't tried. This is a truly excellent photograph, and Graham has won this competition several times, and it's always with really beautiful photographs. But this one is one that should be on the cover of a National Geographic somewhere. If I published National Geographic, I would already have offered you the cover, Graham. That is a really good capture. Okay, that's enough over the top good things to say about any photograph. Well done, everybody. What a great competition. What a thoroughly enjoyable selection of photographs to look at, and so beautifully done. Everybody who entered, thank you. Thank you for supporting the channel by doing this, but thank you for sharing your wonderful work with us, because these really were lovely photographs. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and congratulations to our winners. This is getting to be a difficult competition to win. This getting to be a difficult competition to get into the top 10 because we have so much great quality. The likes of Roy Walker submits photographs to most of the competitions, as does Rashid, and these are photographs that are hard to beat. But of course, Graham seems to manage it most times. So congratulations, Graham, Rashid, and Roy, as well as to George and Sean and Wilf, Chris, Suresh, and Gillian, everybody else who submitted an image to the competition. Thank you so much. I hope the rest of you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed judging it. I'm already excited and looking forward to seeing what we're going to have in the coming months. because I'm a big fan of product stuff. So we'll have to see. I'm sorry I didn't get to read your messages or answer your questions as they came in. But obviously this takes my full attention to talk nonstop for an hour about photographs. So I do apologize for that, but I will read them all now, and I'll get in touch with you if there's an answer that you were looking for. So thank you so much for coming, and I will see you next week. We are going to be talking next week about product photography, either in one or both of the streams, but I'm going to give you some pointers and tips on how to do it well. And I will see you then. Have a great weekend. If you can make it on Saturday to After Stack, please do. And don't forget, Crystal Art is next Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you all. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you soon. Good day.